Welcome to Red Stars Report, a podcast dedicated to bringing you the latest news and commentary on the Chicago Stars. I am your host, LT.
And I'm your co-host, Liz. I'm never going to get used to
It's in
it.
the script. We'll get used to it.
Hopefully. And I'm just
uh,
going to keep saying it.
we have a few things to talk about today, but I wanted to first preface with the fact that we are recording this episode on Saturday. So we are unaware what the Stars preseason roster looks like in its entirety. So bear with us as we may discuss some things that are already, resolved or have come out by the time that this episode releases on Tuesday. So the first piece of news, which was a nice surprise on a Friday, because usually you'll get these pieces of news is on like a Monday or a Tuesday, is that the club has signed forward Micayla Johnson, a Troy, Michigan native who 2024 was a standout player for the U-17 youth national team. Previously committed to play college ball at FSU before signing this professional contract with Chicago. Um, I didn't know when the day would come where the club would sign a teenager, but she is now the youngest player on this roster when she joins them this week in training. So, what are your thoughts on the Micayla Johnson signing? 17-year-old
Well,
jumping
she's
into the
actually not going to be
stars.
she's not going to be coming in this week though. That's
Is
the
she
that's
not?
the thing. No, she's going to
Oh,
be in
because she's
camp.
training with the
Yep, the
youth
youth team.
in
Yep.
in
Yeah, so
January
she's going
camp.
to be joining them, I think, when they're in Florida.
Yes.
I think camp runs and it's like beginning of February she'll be done. So she's going to be with the other children that won't be with their
Yeah.
NWSL teams.
That's too
but
funny.
um but yeah, I'm super excited about this signing. It's 3-year deal. I think it's going to be a lot of learning in the first year. Could see some time, depending. I mean, if she really impresses, you could see it. I watched some. I had watched the World Cup games that she was in, but I didn't focus on her, so I went back and kind of watched a little bit. Pulled a U, I did that, and she reminds me so much of Mal, a lot of like
Okay.
behind, like tries to get behind the lines, like balls over the top, like trying to run onto it and be like sneaky with her runs type of player. So I saw a lot of like that type of tendency with Mal. So she's learning from somebody. She's going to get to play right alongside Mal. And so that'll be a really good learning experience for her. And I'm just really excited. She looks like she's got a solid shot. She looks like somebody that's willing to shoot the ball outside the box, which I love. Yeah, just really excited for this. It sounds like she wants to be there. It's Midwest, so I'm excited. I don't particularly care for the whole signing of teenagers and that whole thing, but that is the way that the league is working right now, and everybody's kind of doing it. And I'm not surprised that we have now jumped jumped into it as well. I'm curious what these colleges, not that I fully care, but like what the colleges are thinking, because they think they have these commits, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh no, I'm going pro by. Like I'm
Yeah.
sure that they're like, oh my god, I wish there was a draft still.
I mean, these teenagers can sign, but
Yes.
even when the draft existed, so it's not with the draft being eliminated, yes, it makes it more likely, but it's just a little um that roadblock that is college, I guess, really isn't that much of a roadblock anymore. Um, I pay a lot of attention to players from Michigan. I've spent a lot of my life in Michigan, and I had never heard of Micayla Johnson before. I've probably heard her name in those U-17s before, but it didn't like, stick in there. Um, but she played her youth soccer with the Michigan Hawks. Notable players that have played for the Michigan Hawks when they were in their youth: Michelle Cooper, um, Malia Berkeley, Izzy Rodriguez, Alexis Spanstra, Riley Turner, or Tanner, Riley Tanner, Mallory Weber, Courtney Peterson, as well as Marissa and Natalie Vigiano. all play in the NWSL. And then, of course, Ava Catino, who plays for PSG right now, all came through that youth program. So Michigan likes to pump out pro soccer players in the last like 4 or 5 years. So it's an impressive program she's coming from. From what I saw on tape, she seems to be really good at sort of cutting through defenders, decent shot selection. She seems to always sort of be in the right place at the right time on the field for opportunities. Other than that, I don't really know much about her. There's not a whole bunch of film that I could find on her. I doubt that she'll see much playing time unless she like absolutely just wows the coaching staff of Chicago. But I'd imagine if she was like shockingly impressive at 17, she probably would be playing outside of the U-17 levels by now, like be playing with like U-20s or U-23s or something like that. But um, she could players at any time can take a huge step forward in a matter of months. So we'll kind of see how she develops. I'm not sure what their plan is right off the bat with her, but I remember Joe Chats had a story on Tap Sports where he did an interview with Chicago's GM several months ago, where he stated that the goal of the club was eventually to sort of create an academy system one day. So this is a first step into the club proving what they can do by developing young talent. Um, bringing a 17-year-old in as a pro and saying, "Look what we can do for younger players in this system and at this club." And then maybe someday there will be sort of an academy system in Chicago.
Yeah, I like it, but yes, I agree. I don't know how it's going to fit at this moment. A forward, we have a lot of forwards,
And nine
so
forwards now.
yeah, there's a lot, but it's one of those where you kind of have to strike while it's hot type of thing. Like that seems to be what people are doing. They're scooping up players right now. It's a player that wants to be in Chicago in the Midwest, it seems. So I'm I'm excited. I think it's also fun because she's obviously getting looked at the youth level. So hopefully that means eventually down the line we could see her on the senior national team. It's always nice to have national team players. Um, and another Midwest kid. We love those Midwest kids. So um
So true.
I'm all excited about it, and I think that she will bring a different. It'll be interesting to see how she interacts. I always find it interesting on teams because we haven't had a teenager yet on our team really to
Yeah.
see how that interaction goes because it's totally different. I mean, she's under 18, and we. I hope that I just I worry about it in the league across the board because of all the things that have happened, and so I know that Chicago has cleaned house and hopefully all of that stuff is gone. So hopefully that means that she's going to be safe and everything. But I just worry about it across the board, not to make it depressing and sad. But just that's why I'm so hesitant about the youth signings. But yeah, I think that I don't recall her name, just as you said, like back watching that. But then when I went back, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember her. And oddly
Yeah.
enough, last weekend, I was looking through because I kind of always just kind of do a quick scan in the off season to see of players that are on the youth national teams that could possibly. And I had stumbled upon her name and I was like, huh, she would be somebody that eventually down the line I would love for Chicago to go after because again, I feel like the Midwest kids are the ones that we go. And then we signed her and I was like, huh, that's funny. I was just looking at her this last weekend.
Not so far down the road, just right around the
No,
corner.
no, I was thinking a couple years from now, but I'm fine with it now. Let's go and let's see what happens.
Yeah. I hope a player like Ava Cook sort of takes her under her wing because Ava's also from Michigan. It helps when you find people from, your vicinity of the country to when you go to these, places you've never spent an extended period of time in. You see it all the time when people, move across the country for their job or whatever. Once they find people who are from their home state, they sort of gravitate towards them. And like you said before, I truly the one thing I've always been against when it comes to these teenagers signing these pro contracts. It's not like I don't want teenagers being professionals. It's I hope that at the professional level they have protections for these teenagers, the same way that I hope that they always have protections for the adults in this league. Um, but when you're throwing teenagers into these professional situations, that it's not easy for them. It's not easy for their families. And everyone that they're surrounded by with needs to be the right people to that they're surrounded by through the rest of their career. You can't have what we've seen in the past across the league. And I do hope that Chicago is in a space now where they can protect this player and make sure that she develops in the right way through the system and doesn't have any personal issues with the way that the club handles her. But I'm
Yep.
excited about the signing and we'll see how that goes moving forward.
Well, I also think that talking about Ava Cook would be a good person to have. Mal, again, is another person to have because Mal was brought into the national team as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that have that experience and all of the pressure that was put on her, I think to have that conversation about like, don't let outside noise bother you, those sort of things. Like, we get it. Like, I feel like she might kind of mother hen her a little bit and be like protect her from all of the stuff that might be said and like there's going to be a lot of expectations on a player like this. I feel like when the teenagers are signed, that expectation is there whether it should be or not. It always is in the league, and some never really see the field. And some right away they're out there. So I'll be curious to see how this goes, but I feel like Mal will also be somebody, a good person to have in her corner, since she had all of that pressure put on her when she was a teenager as well.
Yeah, when you have that shared experience, it can be incredibly beneficial to um, how a player moves forward in their career. And like Mal coming in, having an even one of the largest spotlights that we've ever seen on a national team player coming in as a teenager, and sort of seeing in the like very beginning of her career her not really focusing much on the spotlight and performing well, but then sort of letting it get to her as the years went on, and now looking at her and seeing how it doesn't it doesn't affect her anymore, and she's said as much how she just enjoys playing the game now. um yeah, hopefully a player like that can help Micayla Johnson um find a home here in Chicago and not and hopefully her development doesn't just flatline before it even gets going.
And Uncle won't let that happen either.
Oh,
Protect
absolutely
her.
not. Yeah, absolutely not. And then sticking on the Midwest train, through some social media sleuthing by our community, we also learned that the club has invited U of M goalkeeper Stephanie Sparkowski and MSU midfielder Justina Gaynor, sister of 2024 Chicago Red Stars draftee Celia Gaynor, to the preseason camp for or being on non-roster invitees in this upcoming preseason. So that's U of M kid, MSU kid. That's just sticking with the Big Ten stuff that we thought we
Go
may
Michigan.
we may get away from. It's very interesting that even with like a whole new slew of management on this team, they're still sort of sticking in the homegrown areas of the Midwest and the Big Ten and stuff. So Stephanie, goalkeeper, US or U of M, good height, 6 footer. Um, had some good perform
IFC.
had some good performances on a not so good Michigan team. Not really space for her on a roster with 3 signed keepers, but they could always keep her as a trial player through the season if she proves herself. We'll kind of just, you know, from the outside looking in, just sort of see what happens with her. I always appreciate when invitees get called into these camps. It's not just them auditioning for that team specifically, it's them auditioning for the whole league. So other teams can always snag players from other rosters as they get cut too. So it's cool. We haven't had a 6 footer goalkeeper before, I don't think. So that's, I don't know, it's kind of nice to
I
see
mean,
one in camp.
height is nice. Height is nice, good and bad, pros and cons. But yeah, I think it's good to have some competition and to gain experience. And you never know, like injuries, things can happen to anybody at any time. And so there could be an injury to one of the backup keepers, and we could need a replacement. I'm not wishing anything ill on Alyssa. I will not say that, but I'm not saying that on anybody else either. But I'm not going to say that about Alyssa anyway. And so I just think that yeah, I'm excited. I think that it's fun. I think it's interesting that they're both like Michigan and then Michigan State was kind of
Yeah,
funny.
a little
Um,
rivalry.
yeah, I just think it's funny because then also with the signing of Micayla Johnson on top of that,
Also from Michigan.
that it's all just Michigan that's happening right now that we're aware of at this moment.
Yeah.
Funny thing about Micayla Johnson that I just remembered, she was actually called in by Racing Louisville for the Women's Cup. She was like a non-roster invitee to
Really?
for their roster.
Oh,
So we kind of poached a little bit there, which I'm not mad about.
that's cool.
So yeah, she didn't play, but she got called in as a non-roster invitee for their like women's cup
Yeah.
tournament that they had. So I forgot about that until just now. But yeah, overall, I just think it's funny that they're all like Michigan people right now. Like we're poaching from the schools and we're poaching a kid from Michigan. So but yeah, 6 foot keeper is always a bonus. I don't recall watching her play this year. I know that Iowa played Michigan, but I don't remember it.
I think she played in all 18 of their matches from what I remember. I think she started 17 of the 18, so I'm sure you saw her.
I'm sure I probably did. I just don't recall.
Yeah. Michigan was
But yeah,
not very good, so I can understand not recalling.
yeah, and I have no idea if we won that game or not. But yeah, I just am I'm excited. I think it's good. I think it's fun to see some of the non-roster invitees just to see who they are, what we're looking at, and what we're going to do. And Justina Gaynor, that's an interesting one given the fact that we drafted her sister, didn't sign, but it's a midfielder. And that seems to be an area of need. I think outside back is also a very
An area of
desperate.
need, but certainly a full midfield currently. Maybe
Yes,
not the maybe not full of the names that you're expecting to be a fantastic, wonderful, great midfield, but
there's
it's a little
names.
heavy. It's a little
There's
heavy of a
I
midfield.
I'm just wondering if there's plans or something to move somebody somewhere. I don't know. Like
And
not
you
like
can
I'm not even
always
talking trades, like moves like
change
play somebody
position
elsewhere.
designation.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did it
Yep.
last season, they did it the season before with players. I think like I can't remember if it was at the very beginning of last season or the season prior, but like Sarah Griffith was listed as like a midfielder, and I think Jenna was listed
Well,
as a
Shay was a
midfielder.
forward.
Shay was a forward this year after being listed as a midfielder for her entire career. So, like player designation on a roster, like it changes things aesthetically, I guess. But it also somewhat leads to where they're training them as well. So yeah, they could easily change player designations to sort of free up some spaces in the rotation for different players. I do like Justina. She's 5'8", decent size for a midfielder. She was the 2023 Big Ten midfielder of the year. I remember after that being like, this has got to be a player that we keep our eyes on. And then obviously the club drafted Celia, didn't work out, but they did keep her on trial until she signed in the Super League. So the club has obviously always kept an eye on her and clearly kept an eye on her sister as well to be able to get her this invite. In that year that she won Big Ten Midfielder of the Year, she played in all 22 matches that season for Michigan State and scored 6 goals and recorded 12 assists. Just pretty good player. She is also
We
looks
like
like
production.
a leader on that team too. Someone who helped sort of take that program from being a middle of the pack program and brought them to 3 straight NCAA tournament appearances in her 3 years there after she transferred from Butler. The program only appeared in 4 NCAA tournaments prior to that in their history. So to almost double the the program's appearances while you're playing there is impressive. I know they changed coaches at that time too, but um, sometimes a midfielder can be that uh, commander in the middle of the field and sort of rally a team around them. Fantastic passer is what I've gathered from some of the film that I've seen on her. So like I love that, but like I said, the midfield's getting awfully full, so they may not need Justina, but hope that they at least give her a fair look and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I like production. I like good passing. I will be curious to see what happens because it sounds like a player that I would not be mad about signing. I know that the midfield's crowded, but I wouldn't be mad about it. So I
Yeah.
know again we need bodies elsewhere too. So it's all just so tricky to me because we don't know what formation we're playing too, to be like how many people are going to be in those positions out on the field at a like given time,
Yeah.
which is where I want to know about the need and things like that. But yeah, a midfield can absolutely change and make or break your team. I mean, when we lost pretty much our entire starting midfield, we have yet to recover fully from that. And so it's so important when you can have a player that steps into a team like at Michigan State that then changes the trajectory of a team. That's the type of player that I want, as you said, for her to get a fair look because she could be a game changer for us for sure if things go well.
Yeah. I've been impressed from what I've seen from her. So I'm glad that she got an invite to this camp. I hope she proves herself and finds herself at least on an NWSL roster somewhere because I think she's worthy of that. Other than that, I haven't been able to track down any more of the invites as of this recording. I've scoured social media all day today. Still can't find anything. So we'll have to talk about the full preseason roster next week because it'll probably get released on Monday after we record this. So we'll know all the rest of our non-roster invitees, and we'll talk about them next week as well. But the other bit of news that came out was the schedule release. Finally,
Finally.
love a
Finally.
love a schedule release. Whenever it shows up. The club released the schedule with a short video accompanied by a poem titled An Ode to the 2025 Season, created by a local Chicago poet collective called Poems While You Wait. Simple, very creative, right on brand with the club's new style of using local artists for their content creation. So I was impressed. I thought you, grabbing another local artist is the way this club is going, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think that it fits Chicago because nothing flashy, something unique, kind of quiet, but also says it was very creative too, and I liked it. I liked the use of the typewriter. I thought that was a fun way to do it. I kind of liked how it didn't line up perfectly, kind of like when you do use a typewriter. This might be for some of the I've never used one, obviously. I'm not that old. Oh my
I
goodness,
had
but
a
I
typewriter.
Yes, I've used one in the past and like how it doesn't line up. It was just nice. I liked the aesthetic of the video, I guess is what
Yeah,
I'm trying to say. I really liked how it played out. And yeah, I like that they again they're using, as you said, Chicago artists. I like
yeah,
that how we're bringing making it more about the city. There's definitely a city feel to the team.
yeah. It's what this poet collective does. They create poems on their typewriters, and they sort of uh, keep them in historical places around the city. And you can follow them on Instagram. You can see all their poems and where they left them, and it's pretty cool. I enjoyed it, and I like a few years ago when Chicago did that schedule release with their Wednesday themed stuff. That kind of like took the league by storm, blew everybody away, and I'm glad that the club hasn't like been like striving to like one up that since then. Like I'm all for them just saying we're just doing other stuff. Like we don't need to keep topping ourselves, because when clubs try to do that, when other content creators try to do that, it can be a failure and just look like you're trying too hard. So I'm glad that they didn't um, try to be this like grandiose, like we're gonna blow everyone away again, and just sort of be like we're gonna do our own thing, and really emphasize Chicago and its people.
Yeah, I think that yeah, I agree. I completely agree. I think some teams had some flops. I think that Chicago's was very unique and it wasn't over the top, which I think a lot of people appreciate. And yeah, but shout out to Utah. I do have to say, shout out
I
to
love
Mandy
that.
McGlynn. It
Her
was
British
fun.
accent
I
is
liked
so
it.
funny.
Yes. It was so good. And then I also loved Washington's with the throwback that
With
was
the
like 90s
now
ish with the, yeah, now that's
music
what I
or
call
whatever.
spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that's what I call spirit. It was good. That one was really good too. Some of
Uh,
my other ones I didn't particularly care for, but
yeah.
Mandy, I feel like because with Mandy McGlynn, you don't really, I didn't expect that. I don't know her. I don't know much about her, but
Hmm.
I first when I heard, I'm like, who is that? And then I was like, oh, okay. It was, and then the blooper reel with her trying to like keep the accent and say it was so good. I really liked that one, but I really liked ours because it was so just unique. They didn't try to do anything outrageous. And
Hmm.
as you said, and I'm glad that they're not trying to be like, they did the Wednesday one and they're not trying to be like, oh, we have to top it. Oh, we have to top it. No, we're just trying to do something completely different, which I feel like is what we kind of do with our kits as well. Like we
Yeah,
don't try to top it. We try to do something different. We try to pick something else based on the city to go after. And so I do appreciate that about the club. And this felt similar.
me too. The schedule itself.
Yes. Can't
Play,
wait.
playing on opening night against Orlando Pride, rematch of the first round of last year's playoffs. Amazon Prime, first match of the season for the league. There's two happening at the same time. The other one's on NWSL Plus. But prime time on Amazon Prime against the club that both won the championship and beat the Stars in the playoffs in order to do it. So, what a fun way to start the season.
Yay, so excited. But maybe Jamise Joseph brace making Morehouse look ridiculous
That'd be
twice.
fun.
But unfortunate because Orlando will also have a game under their belt because they will have played in the Challenge Cup.
True.
So
They'll be
it won't
warmed
be
up.
like their first game either. So there's that. And Ludmila will not be available for that game because
Also
she will
true.
be serving the remainder of her suspension. So, but we're going to have eyes on us. We're going to be the main game on Prime. So
Yeah. And
that's a
then
positive.
take bets on how many times they say red stars instead of stars.
I mean, based on the number of times I still do it, a lot.
I have confidence in Mike Watts. He's a very his announcing is very smart and calculated, and I love it. And I'm very confident that he's been spending all this offseason just going stars, stars, stars,
Just say
stars.
Chicago and then you're safe.
I mean, that's what I try to do. I try to just say Chicago. I try not to say them together as much because it'll just throw me off.
It's so
Um,
hard.
it is hard. I think it'll maybe get easier as the years go on, it
This
also
first year is going
doesn't
to be brutal.
but it also doesn't help that we speak on a podcast called Red Stars still. So we're
Well,
just
and the
doing it
fact
to
that on
ourselves.
well, and then media availability, you've got them goofing up the name on the
That
NWSL
was
still goofing it up.
embarrassing. The NWSL getting the name of its own one of its own clubs wrong on NWSL Media Day, both for Sam Staub and Ali Schlegel, that's embarrassing. Putting
Shout out to
Red
them
Stars on theirs.
sharpieing it out though.
Yeah, Sam just sharpieing out, then Ali followed, and putting the FC at the end as well. That was funny. So that was, yeah. I don't know how you do that. That's like I said, that's embarrassing. So we'll see how many times this season they get called the Red Stars. It happens all the time when players change their last names. And then we still don't know if she changed her last name on socials and stuff. We'll see if she changes it on the back of her kit. I'd imagine she will, because she just got married this off season. Um, and then they already announced that outside of Chicago, Lynn Williams is not Lynn Williams anymore. So
I know it's going to be interesting. It's going to be so weird, but good for them. I mean,
and
they have their choice.
we just talked about Megan McGlynn changing her last name too. So that
I
it's
know,
just
and I
it's just
totally
tons of
nailed
them.
it without screwing it up. I'm so impressed. Oh yeah.
Uh,
Oh
on
yeah.
uh, Down the schedule, one more game, home opener, March 23rd against Houston. Houston, new coach, a bunch of new players, restructured roster. They just got Danny, which makes me sad.
Yes.
Uh, so Houston, not a team to be feared last year. This year could be a dark horse. I'm not quite sure. I think they might be.
Yeah, they kind of worry me. Yeah,
They've added some
but
good
who knows?
pieces.
I feel like sometimes though people do that, like teams do that, and then it doesn't work out. So I want to see them play. Like I want to see how they
Yeah,
do. But they could be really good. So it's not the Houston of last year that was kind of like, oh well, you're probably going to win that game. It's going to be a rough one, but I intend on being there. Home
I
opener.
me too. I'll be right there. I really wished that I had a podcast at the time when Orlando was in their rebuild, because I remember reading like the big like season previews on Reddit, and the people doing season previews on certain podcasts and stuff, all just talking about how, what is Orlando doing? They're still gonna suck, blah blah blah. And I was sitting there the entire time like, this team, it scares me. Like, just wait, like a
Yes.
year or two, they scare me. And here they are, NWSL champions just a couple years after that. And it's like, I wish I had a recorded record of my feelings on this. I'm sure I wrote something about it somewhere, that I'd have to track down, but it would have been a lot easier if I just had a video recorded somewhere on my hard drive.
Right.
So
Yeah,
this is the
they're
Houston one right now. I'll bring
I
this
well
back up
that
when Houston's good in a couple years.
yeah, I'm genuinely concerned about them. They're like a lot of teams got good in the offseason. Again, we'll see how like they sign good players. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to pan out and be good, but Houston is a that's but it's a good first game, I think, a home game for
I think
Chicago.
so
I
too.
think yeah, I think it'll be good. Hopefully the weather's decent because you never know in March. So maybe that'll play to the benefit of Chicago.
Yeah. Maybe we'll find out what
Maybe.
March looks like. I don't. Weather's
SeatGeek seems
unpredictable
to not
currently.
play for the favor of Chicago in general. So, I mean,
They
I wonder if
it,
that's going to stay.
it used to. SeatGeek has stopped being a
Um,
home.
yeah, it's not friendly. It's not a friendly confine anymore.
No, no, it's not. And speaking of confines, two TBA locations are on this schedule for matches, June 14th and September 7th. I have no idea what this is gonna be. There's there's speculation about how the fire play on June 14th, and it could be another one of those double headers. I'm not quite sure about that because sort of the I feel like last time they did a double header at Soldier Field, having the Red Stars go second in that doubleheader was what was beneficial for that club because it was you got tickets to both matches. Fire went first, and then if any of the Fire fans wanted to stay, they could just stay for the match coming up. They would. I'm pretty sure they would have to. I think the Red Stars have to be, or the Stars have to be first this one. If I don't remember what the schedule was, but if I think the Fire play later in that day, so the Stars would have to play earlier. I need to confirm that, but um, it wouldn't be beneficial to them to go first, is all I'm saying.
Well, I also think like that game, they had a draw because they played San Diego. You had Alex Morgan. You kind of had that to kind of lure people. Playing Seattle might not be as big of a draw to get people to stay. I don't want to say that because I think people should stay and they should want to watch and all of the
I guess,
things.
yeah, that's true.
But I don't know. TBA is very interesting.
Yeah,
I'm curious.
June 14th, the Fire play at 7:30 that
This is
night.
the 4 p.m.
So, yeah, the 4 p.m. for so maybe, but like I said, I don't know what the incentive for the club would be. I think maybe it's a hey, let's try to prove that we can fill a lot of Soldier Field without the need for a um without the need for a fire match beforehand. Uh, but it helped somewhat last time to go second. Not it didn't help super well because I remember walking into that stadium as thousands of Fire fans were leaving. So, but I mean I don't blame them. I didn't show up for the Fire match, so and I had tickets to it because you got tickets to both. So, um, you know, to each their own, I guess.
Well, and then you've also got the fact that we lost that game, and I was really mad about it. So that
I
game
was mad
still,
about the refing in that game, but I'm not going to talk about it again.
we missed a penalty kick, and I'm still mad about
I
it.
know they missed the penalty kick, but they didn't give Mal her continuation on the foul, and she was right there in front of the goal, and they blew the whistle and should have
Yep.
let her take the stupid shot. Whatever. This was two years
Ugh.
ago, 3 years ago, whatever.
I know, but we
I'm
can
done with
still be
it.
mad about it. I
I'm
can
done
still
with
be
it.
mad
It's
about it.
over.
And then the
Uh,
other game is the Orlando game.
yeah, September
That's the
7th.
TBA. Yeah.
No idea.
That's my brother's birthday. That's all I know.
I don't know if it's just like if I don't know if they have locations set for these and they just aren't saying them yet or haven't finalized them yet, or are they not um are they like is it kind of up in the air that SeatGeek's even going to be available to them those days? So then they're looking right now for places. So I
Well,
don't
and
know.
isn't there something in like the CBA about like making like giving teams like they have to be aware like within a certain amount of time of like where they're playing and things like that. So I feel like there's something in there because that was with the whole Riot Fest thing last year about
Yeah.
moving it. They
Hmm.
have to like let teams know where they're like Orlando and Seattle, they need to be told like where their games are going to be played. So I'm
Yeah,
wondering,
and
I don't
have
know,
these
I'm
clubs
curious.
been told where
Right.
these are or where these possibly could be? They just haven't announced them yet. And I know that there's people that are talking about Wrigley, but I don't think that's going to happen. If it does, I guess I'm fine with it. I feel like if you do it for a second time, that sort of loses the beauty of what that first time was. And also that first time they did that, they had to get special permission from the Players Association to be able to play a match on a baseball field, which you're not allowed to do according to the CBA now. So I don't think the Players Association would just be like, "Oh yeah, sure, go ahead and play on that baseball field again. We'll we'll allow it. We'll always just make an exception for you." I don't think that's going to happen at all. I think if it does, then you can call me out, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, and I don't think they're going to go play where the White Sox play. I don't know what their stadium's called, who they sold their rights to. I feel like it's been
Whatever
changed.
Kaminsky is now.
First right, guaranteed, whatever it is. I doubt, obviously, with Ricketts being a Cubs
Well, that
owner,
would be silly.
yeah, they're not going to do that. So that's why it's like, well,
And once
where's it
again,
going to
baseball
be?
field. Stop
And
it.
baseball field, yeah. So it's like, where's it going to be? I don't
I don't
know.
know.
I'm so curious.
And
Oh, yeah.
it's not like Northwestern's new football fields anywhere close to being finished. I doubt they'll go play at that temp field right next or right in Martin Stadium where Northwestern plays soccer. Um, I don't think they'd go down to Illinois or Champaign to play something. I don't think
Ew.
they're just gonna randomly choose spots in Illinois to go play matches. Um, I think that I think that works with like the PWHL right now, where they have these games that are being played at neutral sites to sort of bring more fans into seeing these games. I think those are very cool. Um, I think the NWSL is like way too established to just start finding random neutral venues to go play matches in.
Yeah, I think also with Chicago, it's tough because they already kind of have an issue with attendance. So asking fans to go elsewhere would be an even bigger challenge.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I'm curious. I'm curious to see what happens. Those TBAs,
watch them both just end up being SeatGeek.
and they just didn't know. They just were
That
unaware
just
maybe of
were,
availability.
yeah, they just probably didn't know what that looks like yet. Maybe one of those could be that. The other one, I don't know. I think the most likely for the June 14th one is a Soldier Field. Um, because I remember last year they said they tried to sort of work that out again, but it never came to fruition. So it seems like they want it to sort of be like an every year thing. So maybe they're trying again and they just haven't figured out the logistics of it yet. And then once they do, then they'll announce it. But for now, they're TBA and we move on.
And we just keep wondering until we don't have to anymore. Who knows when we're going to know? That's the thing. The schedule comes out so late, it feels like that we're going to find out about this probably sooner rather than later, I would assume. So,
Yeah, I mean, other leagues, the schedule comes out before the season's even over for them. like I
yeah.
like I just got tickets to a baseball game in 2025 now, and they released their schedule months and months ago. I was like, oh, do I even have a schedule for that season yet? And I was like, oh, of course I do. It came out last year before the season was even over. They knew the
Right.
opponents, they knew the schedule, whatever. But I
Thank goodness.
understand to a degree the struggles that the NWSL goes through because so many of their stadiums are used by multiple clubs, multiple teams, just like the Stars do with the Hounds for rugby, and then the Fire whenever they can't play in Soldier Field, they come back to SeatGeek because SeatGeek used to be their home stadium when it was Toyota Park, and it's like I understand it's a struggle for the league, but hopefully one day all of these clubs will have their own sites and they can just pump out schedules every single year very quickly.
That would be wonderful.
Down the schedule, rivalry weekend. Our rival is Bay FC.
Stupid.
And it's on big CBS too.
Stupid. Stupid 100 times over. I am so just done with the whole thing.
Why is Chicago versus Bay on big CBS? Not CBS Sports Network, CBS
On
at
rivalry week,
one
and they're
on
not a
rivalry.
rival. Are we calling it a rivalry of the Penelope Hawking rivalry? Like what do we have as a
The
rival
Wrigley
with
Field
freaking
rivalry.
right? Like what is it? Like we both have blue in our logo, so we that's our like I don't know what it is.
I feel like that they just got to the bottom of the barrel when deciding rivalries, and then they went, "Oh, I guess there's a rivalry with not these teams, but we're gonna make it one because we have no
There
teams
were
left to
so
pair
many
with."
opportunities when you looked at like the three that they put at the top on their little image that they put out,
Yes,
and then you looked at the
yes.
other teams. I was like, what? Like you think about it, and you're like, you could have easily put some down that were like Orlando KC was right there. Like
Hmm.
that would be an option. Like you could have done us with Houston or us with Kansas
Louisville,
City or Louisville.
like
Like
who I
any of the things.
have decided is our rival.
I have also decided it. I agree. But it's just like I don't it's not a rivalry. And again,
AFC, rivals of the Chicago Stars.
if you sit there and tell me that there is truly a
Their
rivalry
logo's
between
here somewhere on that scarf.
well, if you tell me that there's a rivalry between Angel City and San Diego, I don't believe you. I don't think there is because I don't think that Angel City's really been competitive with San Diego up until this
I guess
point.
that's true.
I think that it's a whole thing that they've made up in their head. I think Angel City thinks that their rival they can be compete with
I
anybody
mean,
and their fan
interstate
base is a pain.
rivalries are already sort of like a
Right.
automatic
But
rivalry. That's just kind of
again,
how it goes in
we
sports.
took most of the coast teams and are like, we're going to make up these cool rivalries for you. And then we're going to kind of throw together all these other ones in Bay. We don't really care about you. So you kind of don't count in Orlando. You kind of really don't count either. So we're just going to care about like Gotham and then the other West Coast teams and make their cool rivalries and then go from there with everybody else.
Yeah,
It felt
that's
really
why we fell
lazy.
under the etc.
Yeah, we're definitely the etc. category, and it's really unfortunate because it really shows the bias that the league has towards the coast.
Yeah, Chicago, etceteras.
That could have been the new thing.
Yeah. The thing that I am, let's move away from rivalry weekend because that's stupid. Um,
It's very
Decision Day
stupid.
is back. I
Kind
don't,
of.
it's back though.
It's a day. It's a day. It's not rivalry time. It's rivalry day. Yes.
It's
Or
back
not
though.
rivalry. See, I'm talking rivalry. I can't even get rivalry out of my head.
Decision Day.
Decision day.
Sorry.
Decision
Yeah.
day.
Decision
Yes.
Day's back. I
I
like
like
it.
it.
I love it. I
Yes.
hated the whole like, oh, we already know who the playoffs are and we still have several matches to go. So stupid. Play all the
Yes.
teams on the same day, get it over with, have these like, players if they want to staring at scores at halftime, trying to figure out if they're gonna make it if they win or lose or whatever. Like it's
We
awesome.
have
I
to
love
score
it.
8 goals to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I love this shit. It's great.
I agree. It makes the
Decision
games
Day,
meaningful.
them getting rid of Decision Day was the worst decision they made last season. It made the last week of the NWSL season super boring. And
I
I was not
agree.
having it. So Decision Day's back. I'm all about it. I love it. Chicago will finish off the season at home against Angel City, which is always nice when it happens to be at home. I love when a season ends at home. It being Angel City, this just seems like a recurring theme with
It
this.
seems like destiny.
Um, we've knocked them out of the playoffs. They've had opportunities at the end of the season to knock us out of the playoffs. Um, yeah, it's it's
Are
fun.
they our true rival? Is that our rival? Is it Angel City?
It's an Angel City. I don't know. They want it to be because we get them on decision day.
I mean, I'm okay with it. I like that as a team. We play well against them usually. So I think it'll be a good game. I just already calling it, even though I don't even know what our roster looks like. But we always play we always play well against them. They kind of play well against us. So it'll be fun. And I agree. They'll have the last game at home. That should theoretically give us an advantage, but
Just, man, on
historically, that's
paper,
not
sure.
accurate.
Yeah. Um, Claire Emsley, just stay home that day and
Yep.
we'll be
I
okay.
wow. That is the one free agent I wanted so bad.
Me too.
So bad. I was so mad when she signed.
Yeah, yeah, I was uh, annoyed, but it's okay.
Giselle Thompson, you can also stay home.
Right.
But
Um,
yeah, it'll be fun. But there's going to be two games on ESPN that day, I believe. And they're going to be like 2 hours apart. And they haven't decided what two games those are going to be.
and I don't think they've
So,
announced, yeah, they haven't announced what um what games are on
yep.
which channels that day, so we don't
I'm
know.
assuming they're going to decide at the end, like towards the end of the season, they'll
Yeah.
kind of get a read on who's going to be what
Yeah,
and
which is
where and when.
smart instead of just like say putting certain two teams on ESPN or CBS or whatever and then saying, "Oh, well, this match is more important, so goodbye." Uh we don't need them to do that. They can just wait. Um
Yep.
Only two matches are on NWSL Plus this season for the club, which can be a good or bad thing based on your subscription services. But I, for one, am glad that they are not relegated to the league's lowliest platform too often this season. They're on big CBS three times, I believe. They're on Amazon Prime a couple times. They're on ESPN against Portland. Yeah, they're on ABC against Washington. Maybe Washington's our rival. We have Washington on ABC and CBS this season. Maybe
They must be.
maybe that's who the league thinks is our rival. Like
The
if they want
Sam
to put us
Staub
on two big
Casey
networks.
the Sam Staub Casey Kruger rivalry.
Yes. That's funny. Yeah, so plenty of matches on some pretty big networks. That's always the thing in sports, sort of looking at which platforms you end up on, what your teams end up on. I'm so sorry to the people that don't have five subscriptions to all these different things. It sucks. I understand that. I did love when the league was just a CBS league, and every game was just on Paramount Plus or CBS Sports Network. That was fun. And everyone could just get their Paramount Plus subscriptions and then cancel them at the end of the year if they wanted to. Now it's a crapshoot. At least you know ahead of time
Now.
which networks you're gonna need. But that's the way it is in every sport right now, where you need like five plus subscription services to be able to watch your favorite teams. So that sucks.
I do like the games on Ion because I've had like people, friends of mine that don't really watch the league. They'll be like, "Hey, I saw the NWSL was on a random channel that I get called Ion, and I turned it on." So the fact that it's like on TV, like just like people, like just basic TV that people get, it was nice that that's on there. And I like the double header format. That seems to work really well because then you get like the studio in between, which I really appreciated.
Yeah,
And
Ion's
I
coverage is
like
good.
that
I
a
like
lot.
it.
Yeah. Yep. I really like it. So I'm glad that that's sticking around. And
Plenty of Ion games for the Red
yes,
Stars. So
love it.
Stars this season, not Red
Stars,
Stars.
stars,
I'm already doing
stars
it.
FC, stars
Uh,
FC.
Stars FC, Chicago Stars FC. Um, I'm telling you, it doesn't help that we're called Red Stars Report, but I don't care.
I
I'm
don't think it would even matter. I
shooting
think
myself in the foot with that one.
I would still mess it up.
I know, but I
I'm going to do
start
it.
every week. I say Red Stars Report, welcome to Red Stars Report, and then I don't use the red in the next sentence. So
And then I laugh and then I make a comment and then we go on
And then
as
we move
always.
on with our silly comments for the rest of the
Yes.
episode. It's
Yes.
it's the way of the world and what we live with and what you all have to live with by listening and watching
Yeah,
us.
you choose to listen to this.
Yeah. But thank you for choosing to listen to this. We're
Yes, that
just
too. We're just here.
as I always say, just people who can afford microphones. So it's
Something
good.
like that.
That's all we have for this week. The roster is out by the time you're listening to this. Go to the Discord and comment all your fun comments on what you think of the roster and who you think's going to make the team, who you think's not going to make the team, who you think's going to get cut. All that
Traded.
fun. Yeah, traded, sure. Loaned, perhaps, to the Super League. Um, yeah, tons of stuff's going to happen. It's going to be a good season. I'm excited. Off season wasn't as long as I sort of figured it would be. I'm glad we had got enough content that I could, continue to invite Liz on here and make an episode a week for a whole off season. I didn't think I was going to be able to do that. I was thinking like, I don't know, we do like one every 2 weeks, one a month. I don't know.
We still
But
have a
there,
whole slew of questions to get to when we have break time too. So we've
this
got
is
that.
true. Oh, once July rolls around, oh boy.
We can get right back into that.
Hopefully the team has some friendlies in that month that we can cover. But for now, make sure that you are subscribed to the channels across all the podcast platforms, YouTube. Leave a like if you're watching on YouTube. It helps everyone find our content, and we're going to be making more throughout the entire season. Follow us on social media at Red Stars Report. Keep up the latest news between the episodes. Like I said before, don't forget to join our Discord. Amazing community. Please talk about the roster, all your thoughts. I love reading them, even if I disagree with them. Next time you see us, we'll talk about that roster. Liz, would you like that, Liz? Uh,
That was solid, solid.
next time you see us, the Red Stars preseason has already begun. So we'll talk about the roster. We'll share our thoughts. We'll obviously we'll pose some questions to the community as well to answer their questions about what the Red Stars are going to go through.
Stars.
I don't know what's up with me tonight. I haven't done this all week. Um, so we'll see you next week for another Red Stars report.
Go Stars FC.
Go Stars FC.